So I downloaded this image of a utility knife off the web, and I built some reference curves. These are just basic Rhino reference curves, and this is just to give me a visual cue of what I want to build. The last tool I want to show, last couple of tools I want to show you is this append face tool. And what this allows you to do is make a four-sided single face. Pick three corners and right-click, and it'll make a face. And now what I can do is, going back using that Alt-Drag workflow, I can set my mode to edges up here. I can pick this edge. I can bring up my translate manipulator, and I can Alt-Drag this edge out. And if I want to use this disk, I can kind of interactively drag it around, knowing that it's stuck to the Z-plane, and I can kind of start dragging this thing out. Now notice I'm going to kind of line up these things with my detail bits, and I'm not doing a very good job of that right now, but what I'll do is go back to my verts mode, and I'll drag these around a little bit. Again, this is nothing complicated. This is just moving points around. Anybody who's ever worked in Illustrator or done any NURBS work or anything like that will be okay with this. And I'm going to kind of go a little bit past my endpoint here. Actually, you know what? I might add one more at the end of this. So I've got here, I'm going here, move this guy out of edge mode, move this guy out a little bit, go to my verts mode, straighten that out just so it kind of flows nicely, how you'd expect that handle to flow. And then I'm going to go to edge mode, and I'll pull out one more edge. And so I've got one line here. There's going to be a little bit of curvature in this model, so I want to have kind of a detail line going down the center. So I'm going to grab this entire curve line by double-clicking the edge line, and then I'm just going to Alt-drag this whole thing down. And again, I'm not being terribly particular about where this goes because I can always adjust it later. And let me turn the shading off so you can see what's going on here. Now, you'll notice that I've got nice smooth lines here, and this would be a good time to talk about the difference between smooth mode and box mode. There's two ways that T-Spline's objects are displayed. There's smooth mode. Oh, stop it. Sorry about that. Which is here. Okay, this is what the smooth T-Spline's objects look like. And if I do smooth toggle up here, you'll see that it converts to box mode. And this allows me to see what the polygonal control cage of this object is. And the easiest way I can describe this is imagine that there's a smooth object that's trapped inside this box. And as I move objects on the box, you'll see when I convert back to smooth mode, it modifies my smooth object. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me get rid of this. I'm going to convert this to box mode because it's a little bit easier to lay out. And I'm just going to drag my points around so that they're laying out about where I want them to lay out. And I've added an extra detail line here that I don't think I need. So I'm going to go to my edges, and I'm going to just pick it and delete it. And you'll notice that it disappears. If I go back to my vert mode, I can then pull this around. And I've got a basic approximation of my knife. I'm obviously missing the detail that I need for the handle grips here. So I'm going to go to my Insert Point command. I'm going to click on this edge here. I'm going to click on this edge here, right-click to accept. And you'll notice, if I bring back my vert mode, I've now got some added detail. So I can just bring that up. I'll do that for the rest of these. Again, just clicking 2 points, right-clicking to accept. Go back to my vert mode. Pick this, move it around. And I've got the basic of what my knife should look like. I've got detail where I need it, no detail where I don't. This will all blend together really smoothly. If I go to the perspective window and let you take a look at it, you'll notice that this is just a dead flat plane. So now what I need to do is give this some thickness, and there's a couple of ways I can do this. I can use the Thicken tool. What that'll do is give me actually an enclosed volume, and I'll just go ahead and do that so you can see it. And again, this is box mode. If I smooth toggle, it should convert and show you a nice, smooth, kind of riverstone shape. Now the problem with this is I want this to actually be half of my knife. So in this case, what it did was it built the whole thing, and I don't really want that. So let me go back and unthicken that just by doing an undo. And instead, I'm going to go to face mode. I'm going to select all of these, and I'm just going to alt-drag it to extrude or add some more surfaces. Now what will happen is this will make an open surface, which is what I want. Now if I smooth toggle this, you'll see that I get half of my knife. If I go to the top view again, in smooth mode, you'll notice, if I unshade this, that I'm kind of close to what I wanted, but not really. So I'm going to go in edge mode, and I'm just going to drag these around until they get a little closer to what I want. And this is where kind of the interactive designing on the fly kind of part of this comes from, which is just really fantastically cool. Because I can make decisions about the model as it develops instead of worrying a whole lot about whether or not I'm hitting a sketch. Now, you'll notice that my handle's not quite as sharp as I was hoping it would be. So what I'm going to do is adjust some weight on these edges. And I'm going to pick these two edges, and I'm going to run the TS weight command, which I'm going to type into the command line. I'm going to hit enter. You'll notice that currently it's weighted at 1. Let me change that to 3. And you'll notice that that whole thing sharpens up. Now I can go back into my edge mode, and I can get much closer to what I had originally wanted. And let me do that with these as well, because I want these to be a little pointier. I'll just run that command again, TS weight. Change that to 3. And you notice that all of those sharpen up. Go back to my edge mode. I can move them all around a little bit. And then I can go back and fine-tune this. Again, just pushing and pulling until I'm happy with the shapes. Okay, so let me shade that. And you notice that we have a really nice transition, but I want to add a little bit more curvature to it. So I'm going to double click to select that whole line, but I don't want to modify the front and the back. So I'm going to control click that one. I'm going to control click that one. And I'm going to pull this up a little bit just to give it some more curvature. And then maybe I want to go to vert mode up here. And I want to add a little bit more curvature into this handle, so I'm going to pick these 4. And I'll just pull these down. And then maybe I'll just pull these up. Make it a little more handle-tastic. Okay? Now the standard Rhino display is not quite as shiny as I would like, so I'm using this is a plugin called Oxpecker, and everybody always asks about this. Matt has information on this on the website, but it just makes it a little easier to see when you're doing this stuff. So let me make this shiny, and you can see how great these highlights and transitions are. See how that just bleeds out into a beautiful bone line and then just blends right into the handle there. And again, you may be able to do this in NURBS, but I doubt it. You're better than I am if you can. So the final part of this would be to get the other half. Well, I'm going to use the Symmetry command. I'm going to pick that. That's the fraction of the model that I want to do symmetry around. And then I have a couple of options up here. And I'm going to use my Z symmetry, so I want my X and my Y to be off. And I'm going to say my Z is yes. Right-click to accept. I get my model. My normal's turned inside out, so I'm going to flip my normals. And you'll notice now that I have a beautifully symmetrical, beautifully blended model that I can evaluate and say, well, I don't like how my handle's looking here because it's really, really square. So go into my vert mode again, and I'm going to start designing this thing on the fly now. Say, well, maybe those aren't the ones I want to move. Oops, put my normals back. Maybe these are the ones that I want to move. Stop it. You can see that I can just add some more curvature in there, and since symmetry's on, it follows through the whole model. Okay, so you need a really beautiful shape like that, and then, if I bring some details in, I have a little thumb screw and stuff like that, and a little button here got smushed in. At this point, you could convert this to a Rhino surface, which would be suitable for any type of downstream application, by just right-clicking on this convert button. If I right-click on this, it says select the T-Spline surface to convert to a Rhino surface. I click this. This is now NURBS. You're right back into Rhino. This is a typical NURBS poly surface. You can Boolean this, you can trim it, you can cut it, you can do whatever you want with it, and the fidelity on this data continues to amaze me. Every time I've done a T-Splines project and shipped it downstream, it has transferred beautifully into Pro-E, into SolidWorks. It offsets wonderfully. It does all sorts of fantastic stuff. So let me beat on that workflow just a little bit more. You can see how, again, I think we did, 9 minutes or 10 minutes to throw something like this together, and you have these fantastic transitions.